everybody, welcome to DIY the show. My name is Andrew Lowry. DIY the show is the public act show. We talk about DIY ethics, morals, ideas, and how they relate to your real, actual life. So each week, me, Andrew Lowry, I sit down with a couple of guests, and we talk about why they choose to do it themselves and why it's better than everything else. So without further ado, I want to welcome you all to DIY!
It's time for DIY.
We'll go back right here. It is. Here it is. Here it is. It's time for DIY. Hello, everybody. Welcome to DIY the show. Woohoo! Finger guns. My name's Andrew Lowry. I'm your beautiful host. Thank you to Cliff for playing me in. Thank you for Carby on the Vibra Slap. We're here on the show. Thank you all for watching live on DIY the show. My name is Andrew Lowry. I'm your beautiful host. Today, we are talking about house shows. That is where I got my start. That is where I got involved with DIY. That's what got me all going with all this jazz. So for me, house shows are really important. They're a place where people can get together and just create. You know, you learn from each other. That's how music scenes start. That's how creative scenes start. So I saw DIY in its strongest when I was 16. I went to a house show. There was someone there who's like, I figured out how to make pins, so I'm the person who makes pins for all the bands. All the bands, there's a sound person. You all learn and grow together as a team, as a community, as the anarchist dream that I dream of. You know what I mean, internet? Tell me if you like anarchy on the internet right now. Tell me if you like that stuff. But whatever. So we're talking about house shows today. I got a few people in, some people who run house shows, and some people who are veterans of house shows. We'll be introducing them a little later, but as always, I like to say hi to the people on the show with me all the time. So we're gonna start off first. We're gonna start off with our buddy Cliff over here. Cliff, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm doing swell. So Chris O'Grady had a show with his fancy band Troll 2. Shout out, they got a new album. Go check it out on my Bandcamp. Troll 2 music.
That's magnanimous.
You guys didn't clap when I said hello, welcome to the show, but you clapped for Troll 2? Like, come on.
Spring is here again, and it smells like roadkill.
So either way, Chris isn't here today, but Cliff, you're hanging in by yourself. You have the Megazord with you.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, yeah, sorry. He's spry. He jumps a lot.
Okay.
So, Cliff, anything going on with you? You like house shows? You been to any before?
Oh, it's been a while. I've been to a few in my day. Yes, they're
What
fun.
do you find? What's your favorite part about going to a house show as opposed to like a venue?
Oh, the intimacy, I
Yeah.
suppose.
Yeah, I think that's the true thing. I think even bigger bands, as you get bigger, you could play a huge festival, you could play a huge stadium. But I found like DIY bands or independent bands who have blown up, they still love those house shows because that's where you get to like have that fan-to-fan interaction. And I think you can't beat that anywhere else. You can't.
No.
But that's awesome. So you're going to be hanging all day, playing some tunes?
If you want, yeah.
Yeah, I'd love that. I mean,
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Well, I'll do it.
Thank you. You know, behind me as well is my good buddy Carbia. He's always playing video games, always killing it on the 8-bit consoles. He's got a PS2 now. He's got, we're playing Tekken 2. So many 2s. I'm looking at Camera 2. Carbia, how you doing today, buddy?
Kick ass, man. Kick ass.
I missed you, man. It's been 2 weeks. We're on a 2-week, we're bi-weekly
Insane
now.
hiatus.
So what's going on? Any games going on? I heard you're releasing the premiere of your season 5 for your video game reviews. Hardcore Retro Guy. He's got the T-shirts. Yeah.
I'm gonna print out more sometime this summer.
Very cool. I told you I want to buy one.
Cross my heart and hope to die. I will
great.
make it work. Not to mention, I'm gonna be performing at the Speak Up Telethon tomorrow.
Oh yeah. So if you're watching live right now, you can see DIY the show live again tomorrow at 3:40 to 4:10. We're going to be live on Scott TV. They're doing a telethon raising money for the station. We love them so much, and if you want to contribute, that's awesome.
Kick ass.
But
Not
so
only do I have Tekken 2, also got DBZ
What-
Gaiden
Ooh.
and freaking Zoldy's.
Oh, we got all the games. DBZ. I love me some Dragon Ball. I haven't gotten all the way through. I'm still on the road. Let me know if you like Dragon Ball in the comments. If you don't, that's cool.
It's over 9,000!
Nice. But as always, off the top of the show, thank you again, Cliff Carbia, for being here with me. Like I said, we're talking about house shows today, but I've been thinking this week, I like to kind of start the show off with a little rant, a little explainer of what I've been thinking about this week. And, something that was kind of shocking, I think, to a lot of us is the past couple of suicides we've had with celebrities in the past year. There's been about 4 of them now, and so for me, it's I've dealt with depression a lot. Some I don't talk about a lot on the show. I'm manic. I'm happy all the time. I'm crazy. I'm spazzy. But for the most
Same
part,
here.
I turn it all on for this. And when I'm not here, it's a lot of binge watching and spiraling. And this past year, I've been kind of going through a lot of hard stuff. And this show is so cathartic to me. Talking to all of you, get so much things off my chest. And I feel like it's a good year. But what I'm saying here now is that we're all going through something independently of each other, and you need to reach out to your friends. And if you haven't talked to someone in a while, make real connections. I think that's a key thing. I think it's been hard for me to feel like I've had real connections with people for a long time. I feel like I did this house show thing, perfect topic, tie-in. It's like I was in house shows for a long time, and it feels like you had all these friends, and they kind of trickle off. Once the venue leaves, they kind of trickle off, and you're like, what am I really like? Like, what do people really like in me? And that's been the past year for me, and I'm feeling good. So that's what I wanted to say is that, we're all going through something, and this show here is a place where I want you to feel like I can talk to you, and we can communicate back and forth and kind of have a dialogue about this stuff. So either way, we're having fun here on the show. Leave you on a depressing note, but let's go into some live music. They're hanging out with us today. Live band DEWEY's in the studio. This is their first live performance. They don't even have a Facebook page. That's how legit we are here on fucking DIY. We get bands before they hit Facebook. So without further ado, let's hear it for DEWEY in the studio, everybody. Let's hear it again, everybody, for DEWEY in the studio. That was awesome.
Not to be confused with Scottish whiskey.
What is that, Carby? I love that. I don't know. If you guys want a theme song, Carby is going to make one for you.
You do.
DEWEY was just kind enough to play us some songs. Thank you all for hanging out with us here. They're going to be playing some more songs for us later in the show. But right now, we're going to do an interview because that's what we do here on the show. We talk to people. So today, with me, we're talking about house shows. I figured I'd get someone who I consider to be an expert in the Boston house show scene, if not house shows in general. Let's hear it again, or let's hear it for the first time from Mr. James Ikeda, everybody. Ikeda in the studio, everybody. Yeah, whatever. Hi, James. So you've been here a bunch.
Yes.
We love having you on the show. How is life? How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. It's good to be back.
Good to be back. So now, is that too much for me to call you a house show expert?
It's one of those things I don't think I'm qualified to answer myself, but if you're comfortable with that,
I feel like you're one of those people who, if I bring up, there's usually someone in the room who's like, oh, I know James. You know what I mean? And so I feel like when you become that kind of person who, no matter where you go, you wind up running into someone, you've kind of been around the block a few times. At least you've turned into a townie. You know what I mean?
My dream, yeah.
I do feel, my dream is to be a Boston townie as well.
I'm a regular at Steve's in Alston. So
wow. See, you're almost on the ball.
Yeah.
You're almost there. See, I'm not there. I worked at the hardware store in Alston, so I felt like that gave me some townie cred for a while, but kind of lost it
when...
The
one by O'Brien's?
The one by O'Brien's, yes.
Yeah.
Don't go there. I mean, it's okay.
I had a student who said one time Whitey Bulger walked in there and just took some stuff.
Yeah.
And then left, and people were like, hey, and then,
True story. That might be true. No. So one time they told me, because the guy was old Southie. They're all old by old Southie townie guys. Like, hey, how you doing? And so, yeah, they would say that all the time. Almost, it was like an exclamation point on their sentences.
That's what everyone parked.
Yeah, exactly. But so they said there was a trailer that came back that had paintings in it that they think were from the Isabella Gardner heist. So there might be a tie, guys. You heard it here first. DIY breaking these investigative news stories.
You gotta be careful when you leave in the building.
Yeah, whatever. I'm not scared. I'm tough. I got Carby to watch my back. We're not here to talk about mobsters. We're here to talk about house shows. But either way, I always find, for me, a house show is a unique, special experience. That's the way I like to look at it. It's this intimate connection where you open your home up to someone, you welcome them in. What do you sort of define as a house show?
Well, I think the thing that distinguishes house shows categorically from other kind of shows is just the level of access.
Yeah.
Right? Because, the whole concept of it is that if you're not able to access traditional spaces, venues, whatever, this allows you to have, there's a lower threshold for accessibility.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's, I say that only because the phrase house shows can denote shows that are not actually in houses, right? Just
That's also true. Independent
weird
space.
spot, yeah.
I feel like it's pretty much, it's a house show if they don't have a permit to actually have bands play there.
Sure, yeah.
You know what I mean? That's kind of the balance. But you're definitely right with that. That sort of environment where almost anybody can come into it. For me, the thing I loved, first off, I was bullied in high school. I had a lot of held in stuff during college about that stuff. But once I started throwing house shows, I'm in the middle of Alston. I see bros hanging out with nerds. You see, we can all come together, be as one. It helps shed some of that high school bullshit you hold on to for way too long.
Yeah, melting pots up the ass.
Exactly. Melting pots up the ass. That's what DIY is all about. But either way, that's the whole thing is sort of, you take this space, this environment you open up to people, and it doesn't matter who you are or what you're welcome in. So I think definitely, house shows, and you talk a lot about, people like to talk about PC culture now and a lot of that stuff. I was seeing PC culture being embraced in house shows over a decade ago. You know what I mean? I first started, talking to people about, pronouns at a house show when I'm 16. You know what I mean? And I think the general public and the normies out there have just now started to be like, and they're, we're not going to get into the politics of all that, but at the same time, I feel like house shows is like a creative environment where society can progress in its own sort of bubble,
Well, I think the interesting thing about a space that you define by its accessibility presents a number of problems, because the thing is that accessibility is not a state you achieve; it's a process, right? Mm-hmm. And it's a nonlinear process. And I think that one thing I do think is very important to point out is that there are, when I was running shows more actively, I took that very seriously. This is sort of an ongoing process. We want to make things more inclusive, more accessible, and that requires a degree of sort of self-criticism and also a degree of appreciation for the craft of what you're trying to do.
That's very true.
And so I think there's another school of thought, which is people who are very like, oh, there's no rules, and we're just sort of doing a thing, and the whole character of it is that it's formless.
Yeah.
Whereas I was totally the opposite. I'm highly regimented, and we used to have, when Bar City started running shows, we would have we would circle up after the shows and sit down and say, okay, how did we do what
do we do
can
better?
improve on, and all that kind of stuff. Which I personally, it's a very important part of the process for the way I've done it.
100%.
Yeah.
No, I definitely agree with that, and I think for the show here and the shows I've always thrown, I kind of give off the vibe that there's no rules and it's kind of free form. But for me, I think it comes down to it's me as a host. You know what I mean? And so my set of morals and my set of standards, I feel like I put my hands in every pot when it was house shows. I was in there, I was watching things, and I was trying to be the best. You can't watch everybody, but I think being a good host is really what decides a good house show space. Sure. And I think you were one of my favorite, if not one of the greatest hosts I've seen for house spaces. Mainly the spreads you had, James. I mean, you go to a Bummer City show, you are getting fed. Let's just say 5-star cheese plates, charcuterie, and things, hors d'oeuvres up the ass, along with melting pots.
The cheese was sort of our signature thing, and we would usually have at least 5 varieties of cheese. And we would spend like 2 hours sort of slicing things up really nicely and use I had these sort of family heirloom plates that
they were beautiful. It was nice china.
From generations hence. Yeah. We laid them out. It was the only time I ever used those plates.
Listen, it's better than eating like dumpstered Whole Food stew every house show you go to with. You never had that? Is that just me? So you go to a house show and they're like, we dumpstered Whole Foods earlier and made a stew and just dumped a whole thing of curry
I thought you meant
powder
the stew
in there.
Came out of the dumpster.
I mean, it could come out of the dumpster. I mean, I'm not opposed to eating dumpster food. I've eaten plenty of dumpster food. No. I just want you to know.
Same here.
Same here. Me and Carbia, we're raccoons, guys. This show is full of raccoons, and you better keep your dumpster lids shut.
Try to be cautious, though.
So one last thing, though, I wanted to ask before we go to a video. I wanted to ask you, James, what do you think? Like saying you're such a great host. Me flattering you as much as I'm trying to.
Same here.
Carby's here. We're all here to just inflate your ego.
Oh no.
That's the show. So what do you think is one key element of a good host for a house show?
Well, I actually I don't mean this in a pushing back way, but I sort of subscribe to the, if I can use a Black Freedom Movement.
Sure, yeah.
Rather than sort of the MLK preacher-led movement, I subscribe to the Ella Baker, everybody leads the movement together kind of model. So my whole thing about house shows is freedom of information.
Okay.
So I think that the thing that makes a lot of show spaces, and just our spaces generally elitist, is the fact that there's not access to knowledge. Mm-hmm. And so, for example, when I had shows, everything, there were signs everywhere, right?
Yep.
So you knew where there was, if you could get beer from the fridge, you knew where the recycling was.
Yes.
You knew where the trash was. You knew this is where don't go into this room, go in this room, put your bags here. And I tried to greet everybody at the door and say, put your things over there, and just so that, because I think when you walk into a space and you don't know what to do, and other people do, it's very alienating.
Especially when it's someone's house. We had my house shop. Halfway through, I made a rule list, and we just put it in one of the big walls, and there was just a few rules. It was like, don't go in a closed door, try to put your beer cans in a garbage can, and I did the same thing. There was one hallway that was like this big, so you mainly had to walk by me, so I tried to greet everybody and get to know everybody. So I think that's really important, and getting to know the people in your house. You know what I mean? Like I've been to house shows where they're like, who's running this? Who even lives here? That's most house shows, and I hate that. Yeah. Run your own house shows. Be there. You live there. Don't you want to watch your stuff?
I think if you're gonna play the host, you have to be active.
I think that's the key.
And maintain order.
Maintain order. Be an active host. But either way, we got much more conversation here on DIY. Thank you all for watching on the live stream. We're gonna go to a video right now. We're talking about being good hosts. How about you try to find some wellness? So our friend Caitlin Lassie's been teaching us different yoga poses as well as yoga thought processes and sort of how to meditate. So we're gonna go to this video now, and when we come back, I got much more people in the studio. We got much more conversation. So we'll be right back here on DIY.
Yay.
Hello everybody, it's Caitlin. I previously talked a little bit about how silent meditation is really a practice about getting to know your thoughts and becoming a witness of your thoughts. And today I want to talk a little bit about how that practice directly relates to yoga asana, which is the practice of yoga that we all know today. Asana is the Sanskrit name for the physical yoga poses, like down dog and up dog and chaturanga. Asana just simply describes the shapes that we mold our bodies into, where the word yoga itself, the actual definition of yoga, means to yoke or to unite. So yoga asana is basically taking that practice of silent meditation and applying it to movement. So when practicing yoga asana, when moving your body through different transitions and into different shapes, the intention to become aware of your thoughts is still there. But then another layer of awareness is added. So not only are you sitting still and getting to know your thoughts, but because you're now moving your body in yoga asana, you're getting to know your body. The intention is to become aware of the movements of your body, how it feels to move your body. So with that added layer of awareness, not just mind, but now body too, you are uniting, you are yogaing, you're yoking your mind with your body. So not two separate entities anymore. Not just a mind, not just a body, but both. Through the practice of yoga asana, the intention to realize that you are one whole being. It's a pretty powerful practice. But if you have any questions on that, please feel free to send them my way. You can send me an email at my website, KaitlinLassieYoga.com.
It's time for DIY.
Hey everybody, welcome back to DIY the show! My name's Andrew Lowry, I'm your stupid dumb host, and I love you all because you're tuning into my weird TV show. Thank you all watching live right now. Thank you for anybody who's watching in the future. Today we are talking about house shows. I just talked to James Ikeda a little bit. He gave us a little warm up, and now we're gonna nail it right into the beefy chunks of this conversation. With me now, I have two people who run a house venue. Let's hear it, everybody. Let's hear it. Yay!
So let's go down the line. I figured I'd let you both introduce yourself, and then we'll kind of go into the conversation a bit. So first off, right next to me we have.
My name's Taylor Holland.
Let's hear it for Taylor. And alongside you,
Eleanor Elektra.
Eleanor Elektra. Let's hear it. I love the Elektra. Is that real or is that comic book?
That's real.
That's real? That's so badass. Like,
Step aside, Remy LeBeau.
like I gotta land. Andy, you know, it's a cool name, but it could be cooler, Mom. Just kidding. I love you, Mom. So you both run a house space, or you both live and work together in the house space. What is the name of your house space?
Goodrich House.
The Goodrich House. Now, you both, I was connected through you, through good friend, Troll 2, Zoe. Yeah, let's hear it for Zoe.
They pause for the win.
I mean, she's here. In the future,
Those
you'll
are
love
big
this,
pause.
Zoe. So now, how long have you been running this house for?
We've been there for 2 years.
2 years. So
We
you've been
moved
doing
in
shows
together.
kind of here and there for 2 years?
Yeah, it was something that we sort of inherited, our previous roommates. Everyone, now we have one artist in the house who is not a musician, she's a writer. But up until now, everyone has been a musician, and the shows kind of started off as parties.
Oh, yeah.
Like people they got together, and music happened because that was what people there wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of morphed into a little bit more of institutionalized.
Well, I think that's the key. Yeah, I mean, no, that's totally fit.
Family
Institution. I like it. Well, it's a gradual, natural growth, and I think that's the key with a true house venue. You know, it's if you come in like we're gonna turn this space into a venue. I see the PA right there. I see the mixing board right there. It's like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? You're trying to have a good time, trying to cultivate some sort of creative environment where people can feel welcome. Now, Eleanor, is there anything about your guys' space? Maybe what's the vibe? If I wanted to like pitch it to someone, is it like, are you more of an acoustic, like eclectic sort of house? Are you like loud and punk, you know?
It is an acoustic, Mostly
acoustic?
Always an acoustic lineup, but ranges pretty broadly in style. We do songwriter, jazz, a little bit of punk.
Spoken word.
Spoken word.
That's really cool.
And just so many hybrids of all of those things.
That's really cool. So I think that's really interesting. And I think what's amazing is, when I first started going to house shows, I was 16, and it was in the middle of Waterbury, Connecticut, which is very, very sketchy. And so we're in this house, and it's all acoustic. And so it's all these, for me, it was a bunch of like super tough punk kids, and I'm like this little guy who's like, was playing ukulele at the time, so I'm like, hey guys, here's my ukulele songs, woo! But that sort of environment where you're able to play acoustic, you can do it anywhere. You could do it in a laundry room, in your basement, you could do it in your bedroom. I've seen, friends or been to shows where it's like, oh, the venue canceled, just come over to my bedroom and we'll play sitting on my bed, and I think that's beautiful. But now, when you guys are having the bands come in, is there any sort of special things? Is there any sort of unique rituals you have at the space?
We always cook for them.
You always cook for them? That's good. Yeah. That's good. I love when the venues cook. I mean, nobody can beat James Ikeda's cheese plates. James Ikeda's cheese plates.
I got to feel their experience as well.
Now talking about some of the shows at your house. Now, what are some that stick out? Is there any sort of moments that were really like kind of that made the night for you or anything like that?
I mean, you were there for the big band show.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Last summer, we had a 17-person big band.
Nice.
That's like 4 saxophones,
yeah,
4 trombones. It just we normally have the shows in our living room, and the artists are in the living room, and everyone sits kind of in front of them. And then there's like a kitchen space over here. And for this one, we filled the living room with the big band, and then everyone stood in the kitchen space. And the sound was incredible, the band was incredible, and it was also particularly special because while it was happening, I had this feeling of like, this is amazing and this will never happen again. Like, we will never get away with this again. And our neighbors came over the next day and they were like, we came over last night to ask you to shut it down. I guess it was heard at the end of the block.
Yeah. Well, 4 saxophones.
Completely unplugged, but but they said
day.
we came over to shut it down, and we stayed and listened for a while outside because it was really good. But don't do it again.
See, that's the key though with the neighbors thing. It's hard to balance with the neighbors and the noise levels. But if it's good, sometimes they're like, okay, we're cool here.
Yeah.
Now, so I think that's beautiful. Like you're saying, that moment that won't happen again. Where you feel like the band and the crowd are just like syncopated and just like flowing like an amoeba around the room. Now, for someone maybe who's just wanting to turn their place into a house space, what's maybe a piece of advice you'd give them? Maybe a thing you learned along the way that maybe burned you guys before or something like that?
I don't know that we've ever really been burned.
No
had
bad
a
moments?
Good run. Yeah, but I would say pick your interests and slowly build around that. You don't have to start by trying to put on a show that's going to be very stressful and probably disappointing.
Yeah.
But start by developing a hang.
Yeah.
And then put on a show.
Invite a couple friends over, jam out for a little bit, and see how it grows. That's awesome. How about you, Taylor?
I would say the same, and I think the other thing that we're really conscious of right now is that we have 6 people who live in our house.
Yeah.
And each person is an artist and a community member, and I would say kind of falls somewhere along the spectrum that James really thoughtfully defined of like people who don't, or maybe it was you said it first and then, okay, so you're talking about it, that people who don't care and like anybody can come, and then people who are like, here are the rules. And just as a house, we are often in dialogue about like, what does that mean? And we can't put a set of rules in place when there are people who feel like they just want their friends to come over and they don't want to tell them rules. And we can't just invite everybody if there are people who need more of a framework. So
That's
I think
the signs they
just
attach you in advance.
keeping that focus and going from there is
understood.
It's the house first. Like, if we didn't live together, nothing would happen.
It's an environment, it's an ecosystem, and if your ecosystem's not working properly, it's going to destroy itself. I've fought many roommates before in my house. Let's just put that out there. I'm not trying to say you both are violent. You seem like very kind, nice people, and we all have a tendency to go violent, and that's what we're talking about. When we come back after this video, we got more people in the studio. We're going to be talking about more. We're going to answer your questions. Now we're going to go to a video at Sparks Pop Culture Corner. Cliff, you want to give me some music? Let's get the fuck out of here. We'll be right back.
This is Sparks' Pop Culture Corner. I am Sparks, and this is the aforementioned corner in which I discuss aforementioned pop culture. As you might be able to see, I got a bunny since we last talked. Her name is Chloe. She's really good. Since this week's subject is house shows, I have already gone in a previous episode over best house parties. So this week, I'm gonna go over the worst. Okay. So, 2011 Project X, just a party full of douchebags you would never want to hang out with in your life. The Invitation, great fucking movie, but that party's not fun. You should never cozy up to your neighbors in LA. Slumber Party Massacre, any of the Slumber Party Massacre movies. The Omen, it was a great birthday party for, a little Satan man, but then the fucking nanny had to go and just hang herself, and just put a damper on everything. And finally, we got both films in the Boo Medea Halloween sub-series. Yes, I saw those. I have a YouTube channel called Film Punks. You can check our full reviews of those out. They get Tyga to play at their party. Like, all the people playing the frat boys are they're like 35 and maybe even 40, and then they get Tyga, who's like 25, and it's really noticeable to see. That's when you really start to notice the difference between this 25-year-old and people who are like 15 years older than him. But yeah, don't go to any house parties like any of those. It's not worth it. Just stay away. This has been Sparks' Pop Culture Corner. I'm Sparks Lowry, and bye.
DIY. It's time for DIY.
Oh my god, whoa, they're counting me down and they want me to do the show. My name's Andrew Lowry and I'm a cool guy.
Sure you are.
Thank you.
No, you are, seriously.
No, you're seriously cool, Carby. Carby's cooler than me. Either way, welcome back to DIY the Show. My name's Andrew Lowry. Thank you, Cliff, for playing me in as always. Thank you, Carby, for killing on the video games. We're back here with my guests. I got Eleanor, I got Taylor, I got James. We're going to have a full-on discussion here. We're going to take your questions off the internet. We're going to have some rapid-fire questions as well. We're going to get a little goofy now, but we do have an internet question that I do want to ask. Our buddy Will watching right now. Shout out to Will. How you doing, buddy? Wanted to know, as you grow, as he's grown, he feels like house shows have grown. For me, what I ran in 2012 was a basically foreclosed apartment with holes in the walls, toilets that would drip, and just a broken, pathetic, trash house is what I lived in. Now I feel like house shows have sort of grown. People want to live in those places. Now, the three of you, do you feel like that has been the case? Have you seen that? Do you feel like house shows have stepped up, gotten nicer over time, or do you still run into a lot of those shitholes? To put it nicely, at least.
Not to bring everything down, but there's really no way of having this discussion without talking about gentrification.
Oh, 100%. Fair.
It's interesting because there's a number of spaces that I went to in college that have recently been condemned or torn down.
Really?
Yeah, in Alston, specific buildings that I remember going to shows to that are now boarded up. Mm-hmm. And even by your old house, that quite large building on the corner, it's they've got those red X signs up there. It'll be coming down the next 2 years. So
after we moved out of our apartment, they actually closed it down for about a year and didn't have anyone move in there because we wrecked it. And then they ended up taking it from being one apartment, because we were 2 floors with 2 bedrooms on each floor, and they turned it into 2 different apartments so they could make more money. Right. But Also because we did not get our security deposits back. And I think anybody who runs a house venue thinking they're going to get their security deposits back, no matter how nice you are, you're not getting it in full. James, your old apartment.
I did actually, yeah.
Of course.
But that also,
of course
we,
you
we,
did.
yeah. We also, part of our ritual was we like Lysoled the floor before and after every show. And
see, that's
there was
important.
Like
Cleanup.
the whole thing. Yeah.
So
Hygiene for
we
the
were
win.
talking during the video. You wanted to talk about cleanup. How do you guys handle cleanup? You have 6 roommates now. Does everybody jump in, or is there one person who's like, I just live here. I'm not here for the shows? Because that was what I had a whole apartment of.
Yeah, it's a little bit of both.
A little bit of both. Is there do you have a chore wheel? I tried a chore wheel. Gets too passive aggressive.
We try and kind of divide everything, but then everyone is traveling, everyone is a working musician, and so someone's like, yeah, I can clean, but I'm out of town for the next 2 days, and then those of us that are there are just well,
gotta clean it.
I don't want to sit amongst all of the beer cans for 2 days waiting for that person to come back. So.
Yeah, I think that's important. I mean, keeping it clean is keeping it clean. You can find we ended up halfway through just buying 4 giant 36-gallon garbage cans, and then everything just got thrown out. Whatever was left over, if it wasn't locked down, it was in the garbage.
It's amazing where people will put down a can of beer in a house.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
Weeks later, the day before the next house show, you'll find a can tucked
Easter.
behind.
It is like Easter, except they're half empty with a cigarette butt.
Yeah.
It's not that great.
I
now
think that is what defines how often we do our house shows. It's how many times in a short time frame people are down with doing that cleanup.
That's true. That's fair. We had a period where I fucked up and I booked 6 house shows in 1 month, and all my roommates wanted to kill me, and that was right towards the end, and I was like, candlesticks, burn them at both ends. They burn faster. Why would you not want that? Either way. Sorry. But talking about messes, there's always things to clean up. But I always like decorating. I don't know, I love, my old space, I wanted to look like a punk rock TGI Fridays. That was our aesthetic, and that's what we go for here on DIY the show. Punk rock TGI Fridays. Come sponsor us, TGI Friday.
What's next? A punk rock? I don't know.
Applebee's.
Pete's Coffee?
Yeah, there you go. Pete's Coffee. Punk rock Pete's Coffee. Coming to you next week on the set. We're going to have nice wood and some coffee beans on the shelf.
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah.
So, decorations. Let's talk about decorations a little bit. I love Christmas lights. That's what I think is a house show staple. Now, is there any sort of staples that makes it a house space? You got to have like a piece of art on the wall. Is there anything that you think kind of ties that look together?
Colored light bulbs.
Colored light bulbs, those are really nice. Now they have those fancy Bluetooth ones that can pulse and stuff.
Wow. Yeah, we're not there yet.
No, not there yet. You gotta look in it. Get with 2018. Come on, Bluetooth light bulbs. You can't control your phone lights.
I got a Bluetooth speaker.
Bluetooth speaker works. That's pretty cool. James, how about you? Any sort of there was a signature piece in your space that made it a space?
Was a number of them. So we had the colored lights that we had 2 nice little lamps, one blue and one red with the Christmas lights. But every couple months I would go to CVS and I would go to the sort of seasonal section and just buy something.
Perfect.
So we ended up having, and the place was called Bane Voice, my original show space, and so everything was sort of jokes about that. So we had a gold paper mache deer that was called Bane Deer, and that sort of sat in the back, and then we had a skeleton playing banjo, which was Virgil Bain, which is the band reference, and just sort of a lot of weird things. I mean, it got kind of tacky by the end of it, but I loved it. We had a flamingo, all kind of stuff.
We had the same sort of stuff. So we had this. Someone brought in from the Halloween store half a torso of a zombie, and we called him Dead Dan, and he was the mascot of the house, and so there was photos where we would crowd surf Dead Dan. I would just a beach ball in the show, just put him out there. People were "Woo!" And then we had this robot I found on the side of the street, a toy robot, and someone left one time 30 bras, nice bras. I don't know where they came from, but there was a bag of bras in our basement one time. We were like, we'd decorate with them. So this robot ended up covered in bras. He became the bra bot, and he also got crowd surfed. So you're at this show, a band's playing loud as hell. There's 60 people all crammed in, crowd surfing toys on top of them. It was good times. But yeah, I love that. I think that's what makes it feel unique. You go to a bar, you go to a venue, they're the same. It's just a different layout. You go to a house space, you have those sort of moments that tie you in and create that sort of individual moment in your brain, I think that's really cool. Now, when it comes to house spaces, we're playing a fine line between being legal and being illegal. For me, it's the suggested donations. It's you come to the door, you're going to pay and it's donation based. So that way it's not a venue, you're not charging for anything, it's just people left some money here. Now, when it came to door charges, quotes we're putting around charges, it's suggested. I always thought whatever you can spare. If you have a traveling band, all the money always goes to the traveling band. This is a big thing with house shows. Money. It took me a long time to work out the money side of it because it was like there was always something weird. Like people just didn't feel like they got enough sometimes. But for me, it was like all your money always goes to the traveling band. A house space should not make money unless something really bad breaks or you need to like actually replace something to where you take money from it. And everything else, we would take anything. So you can give us a cigarette. You want to give us a nug of weed? We'll take it. Condom. We had a lot of condoms. But I was like, keep that. Practice safe sex. I was like, please practice safe sex, Don't let us have to come back later, they're like, oh, I'm sorry.
I
But
had to pay it to get into my house.
now, what do you all kind of handle? I know, James, you're, purely pay what you can. I mean, some spaces you've run before where it's like you have to have a door charge, but...
Well, I at the house space, it's always donation. The other thing about it is we don't ever collect... I never collected at the door itself because I thought it tied... Because also my spaces have to remove your shoes, and so it tied up sort of near the door. But we... would usually after a couple we'd have sort of large barrels, and after a couple of acts we would do the bucket pass. But the big thing was communicating to people beforehand, hey, make sure you bring some cash, particularly today, because now when I tour, not to get all like these young kids about it, but when I tour now, these kids are asking about the Venmo, and I can't be doing that.
We have that posted in our living room, the Venmo account.
Yeah. Oh, that's a smart move. That is a real...
That's the future.
You just got to get the QR code, and then they can just beep up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, nobody cares. There was a transition between, like, 2012 to 2014 was when people were like, I don't have cash. And then I got a Square Pay card. And
yeah.
And, that's how it goes. But, this is a question I always find interesting. I feel like it fluctuates depending on the time span of the day of the week, but... How long should a house show be, and when should you start? I've always started them at you say 8 o'clock, they start at 9 o'clock, and then you go till 1 a.m. That's when I like to do. But I feel like it's changed over time, and I feel like I'm getting a lot of scoffs and a lot of eye rolls. But we'll start. Eleanor, you seem very, very like you have an opinion on this question.
Yeah. So, here's the thing. You say it starts at 7?
Yeah.
It starts at 10.
Yeah.
You say it starts at 8?
Yeah.
It starts at 10.
Yeah. It's 10.
It just starts at 10.
It starts at 10, yeah. And sometimes your friends show up early and hang out for a little bit longer, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or more likely, strangers show up early, not knowing that
they don't know.
It starts at 10.
But if you put 10, nobody's going to show up till midnight.
Exactly.
Yep. And so people, when I say a time, I mean a time. This show's 4 to 5. People like my statuses for, we're coming up live Saturday at 4 o'clock at, 9 o'clock at night. I'm like, you fucking missed it, bro. You fucking missed it.
Consider yourself in deep shit.
I mean, I know Facebook's algorithm, kind of pertains to that, but... James, or Taylor, you have an opinion. Taylor, what do you think? Now, are you down for the late starts?
If I wasn't, I don't think the house shows would work.
That's very true.
It's not a matter of being down or not.
Yeah, the show after the big band show that we had, where we were really trying to appease the neighbors, we thought we'd do a daytime show and started at 4, and still started at 10. So
wow,
it
6
just,
hour
there was
time
really
delay. That's a pretty good time delay.
No working with it. And then it just goes late. Also because everyone is a musician that lives in our house, and a lot of the people who come as well, people know that they just bring instruments and come and play afterwards. So we'll play till 4 in the morning.
But keep some time, guys. Punk time. It's 2018. We can move past punk time. We can show up to places.
I hate punk time.
I hate punk time too.
It's just because I started running house shows when I was a teacher, so I was waking up at 5 in the morning.
Oh,
and so it was never an option to do the late shows.
Yeah.
So I think the key to making it not start late is you have to have a posse of people who you know are going to roll up on time, and you have to book somebody who opens who is okay with playing for 5 people. Yeah.
That's also true.
Once you do that, it's all fine. But I think if the person's like, oh, can we wait until there's more people here? Oh my then gosh. All of a sudden it's
the hell was that?
It's a nightmare.
I was a huge dick sometimes. Sometimes I'd be like, listen, you traveled, we got to push it a little bit. But other times I'd be like, no, I'm sorry, we have to start. Yeah, I'm a jerk. Whatever. But we're coming down to the end of our conversation. I've had a great time talking with the three of you. I always like to leave my viewers with one last piece of advice. So, what would you give someone trying to start a house show or trying to go to a house show? what would be a piece of advice for someone jumping into that for the first time? Whoever feels like jumping in first. Thoughtful pauses.
There's so many things.
James,
I don't know. I guess the fun thing about it is it's a space you're cultivating yourself, and you can do what you want to do, and so you should be, have fun, be imaginative, and don't compromise for what models already exist.
Yeah.
You would try and do something that actually, even if it seems silly, you should do something that fits what you want to do and that makes you feel good about it.
I think it's kind of hard now because one thing I noticed is that house shows have gotten way more fashionable. People have like cultivated aesthetics when they go to like basements and stuff. And so, when I think about my time during house shows, people just wore like t-shirts and shorts like that. We're just people in general have gotten more fashionable. We're all, I'm trying to match some. My socks, I got fancy socks. But, we're all trying to do that. But I think at the same time, don't compromise, be yourself, and people will find that refreshing, I think, a lot of the time. Eleanor, how about you? Anything you want to leave us with?
Be thoughtful about who you're inviting.
Yeah. Don't let in toxic people in. I had a lot of toxic people who you invite in once and then never left, and it ended up having to be a whole thing to get them to not come anymore, And so if you're policing that in the first place, you're not going to wind up getting burned,
Just ban the bastards.
Be thoughtful about who you're not inviting to, because you are now making a community space.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Sure. You don't want to box yourself off. Very good. Taylor, how about you?
I think as a host, you set an example, and when people come into a space, they're generally like looking to see how they should participate.
Yeah.
And it really doesn't take much to set that precedent and to stand up there and say, this is, for us, when the music is playing, we expect that people are quiet.
Yeah.
And Eleanor always sits like front and center and watches everything, and I'm usually on the side like telling people to be quiet. And we really like hold that and hold people to it, and it's surprising when we convey that message clearly. That people listen.
Yeah.
And people are willing to go along with it.
Well, I think the universal message that your parents would yell at you, my house, my rules, I think stands with a house. Yeah. So we're
Respect
going to
authority.
There you go. So thank you to the three for coming in. Thank you for talking about house shows with us. But so go out there, be your own parent, and respect my authority.
Hygiene, dude. Hygiene's important.
Hygiene is important at a house show. Carvey with the last word shout out. Please wear deodorant. There's like 60 of us all crammed in one space. You don't have to wear any sort of scent. Just something to cover your natural body.
Or keep your space clean.
Or keep your space clean.
Buy hand soap before you invite people to.
Yeah, I didn't have soap ever at my apartment. Whatever. We're going to go to a music video by the band Adrian Aardvark. They're a live band next week. I can't wait to see them, so get hyped for them. And when we come back, we got DEWEY live in the studio. So, Cliff, you want to play a song to get us out of here? Ooh, smooth. I like it. Sexual.
Step aside.
That was awkward. I shouldn't have said. I meant to say sensual, but.
Temperatures rise. Wanna nibble on some juicy fat. Catches hot summer. Watch home smolder. Young fellas and horses dance at the bars till they closes. Lockjaw after parties. We're all the naughties. Early morning comes again. Takes me back to the world again.
It's time for DIY.
Do I have enough? Will, is there enough headroom? Yeah, I'm professional. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to DIY the show. I appreciate you hanging with us all day long. Anybody watching live right now, I really appreciate you hanging with us live. We want to interact with you, so if you ask questions, we'll answer them from now on, but you only can do that from 4 to 5 when we're live on Saturdays. Thank you, Will, for your question. Thank you for anybody else watching the live stream. Thank you to my guests. Thank you to Carbia. Thank you to Cliff. But, you know, at the end of the show, I like to sort of say what I learned, what I sort of feel about the topic. So we're talking about house shows. House shows are important to me because that's where I got my start. That's where I gained my confidence. That's where I found an environment that felt welcoming to me. That's where I found a fucking space. If these guys keep wrapping me up while I'm trying to be very emotional and inspirational, everybody's doing wrap it up fingers. Nobody can see this except me. I went to house shows. It gave me confidence. I know it can do that for you. I know you will find your scene. It doesn't have to be house shows. It could be a bowling alley. It could be a convenience store you hang out in front of. It could be a weird farm you go to on the weekend. Or a gaming tournament like Carbia says. But find your place where you feel safe and you can explore your interests and your creativity. And you will find some very nice people and you will figure out some great stuff. So that's me wrapping up a long monologue. And I want to give Dewey time to play some music. So without further ado, let's get a nice round of applause. We got Dewey with some more live tunes in the studio. everybody. Let's hear it again for Dewey in the studio. Dewey, thank you all so much. Thank you. That was amazing. We're doing dabs. We're doing high fives. Behind the back. Oh, we got it behind the back. I'm cool like that. I'm cool like that. I'm cool like that. I don't know which camera I'm looking at. I got the mic too close to my face, Steve. Too bad. So we're here on DIY. We've been having a great show today. I had so much fun playing with talking about house shows with James, Taylor, Eleanor. They're telling me to wrap it up, but I don't give a shit. We're gonna keep going. Carby, you want to come up here? Yes, you want to come out, hang out? We got the good stuff. We're gonna sing the theme song. You guys can jam out if you figured out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we go. I fucked it up. I missed the key. We're going over here. I'm doing weird handshakes. D. Justin, come on up. Marvin, you want to come up? It's DIY. There we go. What is it? It's DIY. You don't know how to sing it? We're singing. DIY. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. DIY is a weird ass show. Okay. Oh, it's time. Let's go home. Let's leave. Let's clean up the studio and eat sandwiches.